Okay, Sean and I are out here today, been snowshoeing around and decided to try to find us a spot where we could kind of a partially ready-made shelter from the debris and stuff. So Sean's kind of been investigating a few of them and see what there might be we could make a 1 or 2 man shelter out of in case of a storm. So we're looking at this one right here. It'd make probably a nice little, at least a nice little sleeping quarters where we could go back in there. So what do you think, Sean? Think we can do something with that?
I think it's good.
All right. So we're just going to show you. This is just a lot of this brush has been piled over by the snow. Makes little holes back in there. And we're going to try to see what we can do for a 1 or possibly 2 person shelter out of this thing. Okay, so here's the other side of that little shelter area here. And what we showed you from before, it goes back in under the snow a little bit there. Now we're going to dig out some of that snow that's down in there so we kind of get down in a little bit. We're going to shovel that snow with the snowshoes back over here under the shelter. And we'll put some more debris here and we'll start covering all that over. When we're all done, we'll have a snow covered shelter here. So Sean's going to start digging out, you know, and if you're up somewhere and you're stranded and you got snowshoes, you know, the numbers of times I've used snowshoes as a shovel, but we're gonna dig out a lot of that snow with the shovel, with the snowshoes, and then start piling up and sheltering up. So we'll just keep you posted here. Alright, so Sean's in here. He's cleared some of the snow out, and then, you know, the case on a lot of these willowy, brushy, some of this stuff's kind of a brushy maple here, but Sean just taking his Gerber knife here and just chopping up some of the stuff that's in the way. So we'll clean us, we'll have an area kind of cleaned out inside of there so you don't have a bunch of stuff poking you. And then all the stuff he chops off we'll probably wind up using for help with the shelter here. Alright, so we're covering our shelter over here and we're using the snowshoes. What I'm doing here is I'm going to use the tail of the snowshoe, shove it in here kind of like a saw, pry with it, and then we pull out a nice big snow block like this that I'm going to use on top of the shelter. Alright, so I'm going to bring this block right in here. The snow's not as powdery as it used to be. It's a little grainy, and we put it in there, and when you press on a little bit, it starts kind of biting into all the branches and twigs under the other snow. So we're going to get about 6 to a foot thick on this all around here on our shelter, just by kind of piling it onto there, and we'll shovel some loose stuff on top of that. Right, Sean's putting some door posts in, planting those firmly in there, and then covering it with some willow twigs and stuff like that. And I'm bringing some whatever kind of snow blocks I'm getting and setting onto there. This snow is too crumbly to use for an actual structure, but by laying it on top of here, all the willows and everything give it support, and we're basically shingling the roof with the snow. Alright, so our shelter here is getting closed in. We got a little more work still to do on this one side, and we're working on closing in the doorway here. This snow is very, very crumbly. We have to be pretty careful to keep it together. So we've kind of been cutting it loose, and Sean's bringing it over, and we're setting it in blocks here, and then we just position it in place there. Alright, so here we are. We've got our shelter that you saw earlier out of willows, and we've caked it over with snow and all that sort of thing. Sean's down inside of there. It's a cozy little 2 man. It's not huge, but be ideal for weathering out a storm. So let's take a look at it in here. Sean's down inside of there. There we go. All right, Sean's inside of there. So you think two people could sit in there? It'd be a little crowded, wouldn't it? But two people sleeping would be all right.
Yeah. Side
by side. You know, two people in there, you know, wouldn't be too bad. We got to still rough it out a little bit in here. Shovel out a little bit of snow that's kind of got in here, but it's actually pretty roomy up here on the roof. Just enough room to sit up. And, you know, once again, we don't really want it that big inside of there. All right, so we've been gathering juniper boughs. We've been gathering willows and other kinds of sticks like that, and started to put them inside the shelter because we want to, since we don't have anything with us, you know, in this survival situation, we've got to build up our insulation above the snow, so when we're laying there, the cold doesn't penetrate to us. So we're building us basically a two-man size wilderness mattress. So Sean's gonna kind of show what we got going on here. There you can see all the willows and stuff that's in there now are running sideways, left to right. And what we're going to do is we're going to start building layers, and the next layers we put in there, we're going to go crossways to that. That way what we're doing is we're making it, we're forcing it to kind of build up faster. By every layer we put in, we cross it the other direction. Now you notice something else Sean's doing here that's very important. You'll notice that when he sticks these in here, all the ends are going to the outside walls, and he's kind of sticking the ends in there. That way, when you're laying in there, we have no cut ends that you've chopped or broken off of, you know, to stick your ribs or whatever in the middle of the night. So the only thing that goes in the middle is the tips and that sort of thing. All right, now Sean's got some material here. We've got, you know, a good bit of sagebrush, rabbit brush, all sorts of different types of brush around here that grows. And so what we're going to do, we're going to pile a bunch of that. We put kind of the willows and the coarser stuff first. Now we'll put a layer of that in there, and then we'll finish it off with a good layer of juniper boughs. So I'll go ahead and again, this will lay crossways to whatever the last thing that was put in was. All right, so Sean's been piling all this juniper in here, and we're coming up to as deep as the threshold on the little shelter. So we're filling it about a foot deep to maybe 1.5 feet in some places with these boughs and all the other material we've put in here. And you notice on top what we're doing is we're putting the softer stuff. And Sean is still putting all the cut ends to the outside. That way we're never going to be laying on a cut end inside there. We're just going to be on the more comfortable boughs. And we purposely left the doorway a little taller here just for the sake of being able to film this video. And we're going to put some cross pieces right there. We're going to cut that doorway about in half. But we wanted to be able to have enough in there so you could kind of see inside of there. All right, Sean's down inside the shelter there, and sitting on a nice thick bedding of our junipers and all that sort of thing. How does it feel?
Feels good.
And that's nice, isn't it? It's cushiony. Yeah, there's nothing sharp in there. Everything's to the edges, and you know, you think you could be comfortable sleeping at night in something like that?
I could sleep on this. No
problem?
Yep.
Oh, very good. You're going to. That's the point.
Yep.
But I mean, that's the deal. We're using all natural materials. You know, instead of, we don't have a foam mattress or whatever with us or some fancy thing. So we use what we got here in nature and make something. So, how long did it take us to build this whole shelter?
2 hours.
About 2 hours. Which that's pretty good probably. You know, a shelter like this for 2 men, 2 hours, yeah. That's not bad. And we're closed in pretty well. We got at least, we're actually probably pretty close to 10 inches to a foot thick of snow all over. And the shelter's pretty sturdy, pretty nice. And you know, we're in pretty good shape here. It's gonna be a cozy time inside that dude. Okay, so now we've finished our snow shelter. Got it all done. We've closed our entrance down a little bit here. And we're gonna use the snowshoes as kind of a door for the night. So we'll just kind of, when we get ready, we'll just kind of stick them in front of the doorway and close it all in. And we're good to go. So there's Sean inside of there. You see he's got all that pine, all that juniper boughs. There, you've been laying in there a little bit. You feeling any cold at all?
I'm good.
Very good. And that's the thing, that you gotta use nature to give you some insulation. You know, if it was even colder, we might even just pile twice as many boughs in there if we wanted to and really get cozy. We could even pull them over the top of us if we wanted to kind of help make a blanket for us, you know. Anything to keep from having open air would be better. So anyway, this is Sean and Perry with Wilderness Innovation, making a quick little two-man snow shelter out of willows and snow.